One of the unmistakable earmarks of a New Testament church over the last 2,000 years has been the relentless effort to advance the gospel of Jesus Christ through personal soul winning and baptizing converts, through planting new churches in the next town, village, or frontier, and through world missions. Even in places and times where preaching the gospel was outlawed and persecuted, Bible-believing New Testament churches, in groups like the Montanists, the Paulicians, and the Waldenses, did not abandon their zeal for the advancement of the gospel. In the history of America, no other group has been as intense in reaching souls and planting churches in new places as the Baptists have been. Every state has its own heritage of brave Baptist people who labored, sacrificed, and gave their lives for the sake of bringing the gospel to the lost and leading souls to Jesus. You'd find it very encouraging and faith-strengthening to track the history of Baptist churches in your state, all the way back to the very first Baptist church in your state. Learn the names and the stories. Find the historical markers, the monuments, and even the grave sites of Christian pioneers. You may be surprised at the discoveries you'll make. In Fayette, Mississippi, there's a remarkable site called the Mississippi Roadside Display. It's a series of historical markers that tell the stories of how Baptist churches got their start in Mississippi. The first Baptist church in Mississippi was the Salem Church at Coles Creek, established in 1791. The marker reads, First Baptist Church in Mississippi, set up 1791, in home of Margaret Stampley, with Richard Curtis of South Carolina as pastor. Several other markers nearby go into greater detail. And probably the best way for you to learn the origin of the First Baptist Church in Mississippi is for me to just read for you some of what the markers say. A sign titled, Beginning of the First Baptist Church in Mississippi reads, In the spring of 1780, several families of the Great P.D. River area near Charleston, South Carolina, loaded their possessions on pack horses and set out for the far-off Natchez country. Richard Curtis Sr. was their leader. At the Holston River in northeast Tennessee, they spent the summer building 3 flatboats and raising a crop of corn. They traveled on the Holston, Tennessee, Ohio, and Mississippi rivers. In Tennessee, they were attacked by Cherokee Indians. All were massacred on the 3rd boat, except for one woman who was taken captive. Those making the journey safely landed at the mouth of Coles Creek about 20 miles above Natchez and settled eastward. The Baptists among the settlers, led by Richard Curtis Jr., met in October 1791 at the home of Margaret Stampley and organized the First Baptist Church in Mississippi. The next sign, titled Baptist Churches Constituted After Territory Acquired by USA, reads, Until 1798, the Mississippi Territory was under Spanish rule. Threatened with banishment to the silver mines of Mexico because of preaching, Richard Curtis Jr. returned to South Carolina until there was a change in the government. President Washington sent Andrew Elliott in 1796 to negotiate with the Spaniards. In 1798, Spain yielded, and the territory came under the control of the United States. Richard Curtis Jr. returned by horseback after a 3-year exile. A church house had been constructed of logs on Stampley Settlement, where he began a ministry that lasted several years. The church was once called the Baptist Church of Coles Creek, but later came to be known as Salem Baptist Church. The Salem Church was the only one in the Mississippi Territory until 1798. The Second Baptist Church was at Bayou Pierre, near Port Gibson. Another nearby marker tells the story of Mississippi's first Baptist preacher, Richard Curtis Jr. Curtis migrated to Coles Creek in Natchez District from South Carolina in 1780 and encountered Indian attacks, disease, and inclement weather. Despite constant obstacles and harassment from the Spanish authorities, in 1791, he helped establish the Salem Church as the First Baptist Church in Mississippi on Coles Creek. Curtis was indeed a committed crusader for religious liberty and Baptist convictions, and deserves the accolades of all Mississippi Baptists and other freedom-loving Christians. There are several other markers nearby giving details of important aspects of Mississippi Baptist history. The site was erected by the Mississippi Baptist Historical Commission. It's located at 5286 U.S. Highway 61 in Fayette, Jefferson County, Mississippi. The history of the Baptists of Mississippi, beginning in 1791 with Pastor Richard Curtis and the Salem Church at Coles Creek, demonstrates beautifully the pioneering zeal of the New Testament church in early America. Christian, thank God for those who blazed the trail of faith before you, and give your all to Jesus Christ for the sake of those who will come after you. Stay the course.